Hey everyone, welcome to another Angry Artist podcast. As we all know, art is a progression, a journey to improvement. You're constantly creating new and new artwork, and each and every single time you figure something out. So I'm going to be talking about a concept on the standard artist journey, or what usually happens when somebody does this. The reason why I want to note this stuff is because a lot of people are actually not self-aware what's happening when they learn, well, when it comes to art. If you are able to control and understand why things are happening and what may be stagnating your work, then perhaps you'll figure out ways to improve yourself and break those chains, so to speak. In art, there are so many different aspects to take note of. Even though people can make fun of us, the best artists are some of the most intelligent people you'll ever meet. And that is because there are very few jobs that will juggle as many things as we do. It is a primarily skill-based profession. And of course, everyone will know whether your artwork is good or not. We are scorned heavily if we do a bad job, as you may have noticed in movies that are not particularly very good. You'll have audiences openly attack the movie production, and nobody really cares about the artist's feelings and the hundreds of employees who try to make the movie work. So it is imperative to be as skillful as possible. So how do you do that? In your process of learning, you are most likely going to be specialized in one thing. When I see people starting out drawing, they have very specialized perception. What I mean by this is some people are actually fairly good at certain things, and maybe they're really, really bad at certain things. Of course, similar to a movie production, it is as good as what your worst aspect of the artwork is. So, for instance, you may be able to draw the best eyes ever. However, if the rest of the face doesn't look right, then people are going to judge your artwork based on the face. Contrary to belief, we have very, very little room for mistakes. Styles are different for every artist, but every artist wants to portray a certain message, and when they don't have that message out in an optimal way, then people will consider it bad, as they will judge their standards based on what is intended. So getting back on track, I wanted to talk about a way that artists can think about improving on art and how they can go about it in a rational manner. So we've already established your artwork is judged based on your worst aspect. So what will happen when you're doing art is you're constantly improving every single aspect. You are utilizing every single aspect of art when you're trying to finish a painting or an animation. So I like to see it as sort of like an RPG, a game where you can level up skills. Not everyone is going to have amazing stats on every single thing that they do. There's a reason why warriors in games will have the highest strength, but they have perhaps low magic value, whereas a mage will have a high magic value. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated when it comes to learning arts, and you're not so much limited by that. You can learn anatomy, you can learn color theory, you can learn values, you can learn basically whatever you need to learn. However, it will take some practice and a lot of failed paintings. You will go through a lot of paintings before your worst aspect of your artwork is still professional level. And that's the key. For instance, if you have amazing human anatomy but you don't know how to color, then people will look at it as, well, this is a great drawing, but the painting is lackluster, and they might see it as bad artwork. So knowing that, you really want to know what your weaknesses are. Your strengths will come out naturally. Some people are very good at environment paintings, some people are good at character designs, but there's always something that everybody is weak at, and that's very important. Now, of course, depending on your job, you might not need to work on your weaknesses. For instance, if you are in charge of character animation, then you might be able to get away with being worse at environment painting. Would it limit you? Yeah, probably, but you could get away with it. So basically my point is really to look deep down and analyze every single artwork you do. And understand, okay, what is holding it back? What I like to do is basically review my own artwork once it's finished. It's similar to having a movie, except you're making the movie and you are reviewing it. Know to be a harsh critic of yourself. Of course, don't be unhappy about it, but chances are, if you are not harsh to yourself, then somebody else will be harsh for you. And they might be an art director at a big studio. This is where the whole artist with thick skin comes into mind. Not only do you have to take criticisms with other people, you have to learn how to do it to yourself. And it's a constant battle. This is why art is infinite to me, and why it's so fun to me. It's like playing a game where you can have infinite levels on your character. As an artist, are you ever going to hit the point where you can say, I've mastered everything? Chances are, if you've said, I mastered something, then you need to reframe your reference point. On a final note, I want to mention the idea of reference points too. So given that your artwork is always going to be judged on your worst aspect, there's a chance that you might think, oh, I've mastered anatomy or color theory, but it's in reference with something that is very weak. So for instance, I noticed there's a lot of people on DeviantArt especially, and Tumblr, who get into the habit of drawing a specific body type or a specific face. But the reason why it works, quote unquote, is because there's another aspect that is making it acceptable. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. So for instance, if I were to have an anime character and my color theory is really poor, then even if my anatomy is a bit off, people are going to judge me harder on the bad colors. What this means is that as you improve your weaknesses, you will start raising the bar for everything else. I repeat, if you start improving on your weaknesses, everything else will have their standards raised. And this is where the infinite part of art comes from. You are improving infinitely. So hopefully that makes sense. I am not a philosopher by any means, but I try to objectively and rationally break down how to approach art and what people are doing subconsciously that they may not know about. And when you're improving on your art, you might face these challenges. Again, sometimes you raise your weaknesses and then you realize now your anatomy is not working very well and you thought you were amazing at anatomy. But that's the fun of it. That's the fun of art. If you can accept the journey, then you will naturally improve. As long as you are self aware of your own work. Anyways, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.